Welcome to Hanukkah and End Times and Daniel's prophetic revelation. We're doing a series looking at the Jewish feast of Hanukkah and how that reveals to us a template for the end times. My name is Enoch Lavender and I'm from Olive Tree Ministries. So a preview of the end times. The events of Hanukkah occurred about 175 BC, in other words, before Christ. And they are known as being the clearest prophetic foreshadowing of the end times throughout all human history. So they're definitely worth studying the events of Hanukkah. Daniel the prophet predicted these events about 400 years ahead of time in great detail. And in today's episode, we're going to look at the level of detail that he provides us ahead of time in terms of what was going to happen during those dark days. We'll also see how it relates to what is yet to come, not only what was fulfilled historically. Alexander the Great. Daniel foretold the rise of Alexander the Great, who conquered the then known world. In Daniel 11:3 he describes this mighty king, and ultimately that in verse 4 the kingdom will be divided towards the four winds of heaven, but not among his posterity. Well, Alexander died young, and his kingdom was divided between his four generals, not between his kids. It wasn't hereditary in his family. So this sets the stage for the events that were to come in Hanukkah. Because basically these four kingdoms, out of the four, two became predominant. One was the Seleucid Empire of the north of Israel, one was the Ptolemaic Empire of the south of Israel. And Daniel describes them as the king of the north and the king of the south. And he describes in tremendous detail the ongoing war and conflict that took place between these two empires. This is Daniel 11 verse 5 to 28. We don't have time to go into all the details of that right now. But Israel was sandwiched in the middle, and there's pressure all around militarily, but also the pressure to join this overwhelming humanistic culture, this Greek culture that worshipped all these gods, that worshipped the body image, that celebrated reason. And there are many aspects of the Greek culture that were very contrary to the ways of the Bible, and many of the people of Israel began to be swayed and turn away from their faith. Antiochus IV. Now he had been a hostage in Rome, and he was third in line to the throne. But Daniel 11:23 predicted that he would arise and take the throne by deceit, which is exactly what he did. He seized an opportunity when his older brother was killed, and the second in line to the throne was also captive. Antiochus made a treaty where he said that he would make his brother's infant son co-regent with him, but in actual fact he intended all along to kill this young boy, and 5 years later he arranged for him to be assassinated. So he came to the throne in deceit. He was, as Daniel 11 says, a contemptible person on whom the royal majesty was not conferred. He gained the kingdom by flattery. He scattered the plunder with his supporters. And all this was predicted. Verse 21, verse 24 of Daniel 11. Now, Antiochus came to power. He made a treaty with the high priest of Israel, who in turn set up an idol and encouraged idol worship in Jerusalem. And then he went down south to confront his arch enemy in Egypt. And Daniel predicts this in verses 30 and 31. He says that ships from Kittim will come against him, and he'll be grieved and return enraged against the Holy Covenant, and he will do damage. And he'll return and show regard for those who forsake the Holy Covenant. In other words, those who embraced Hellenistic ways. And forces will be mustered by him, and they'll defile the sanctuary fortress, or the temple, and they'll take away the daily sacrifices, and place there the abomination of desolation. Let's see how this was fulfilled in Antiochus. the humiliation of Antiochus. So he went south to confront his arch enemy, but there he was encountered by ships from Rome, and the Roman emissary put a circle in the sand around Antiochus, forcing him to make a decision before he left that circle, humiliating him on the spot. So Antiochus was enraged, and he's now heading back up north towards Syria, and he hears reports of a revolt in Jerusalem between the Orthodox and the Hellenistic factions, between those who were supporting him and the Hellenism and those who held fast to the Torah. So he sent in 20,000 soldiers under the pretense of peace on the Sabbath into Jerusalem, and they attacked the city, killing 80,000 people. Not only that, they also put an end to sacrifices in the temple and erected an idol with his own image on it. We're going to talk more about this idol later, and how the local Jews referred to it as the abomination of desolation, and what that means, and what that means for the future as well, when Jesus spoke about it in Matthew 24. But let's keep going for now on the focus on Daniel's prophecies. Is prophecy real? The level of accuracy of Daniel's prophecies have led liberal theologians to claim that Daniel could not possibly have known all of this 400 years in advance. The writings of Daniel therefore must have been written after the events took place. However, I believe that the God of the Bible is the true God, and he is able to reveal and foretell the future. He says in Isaiah 46, "I am God, and there's none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient time things that are not yet done." In other words, the proof that he is God is that he is able to tell us the future before it even happens. And I believe that's what happened in the story of Daniel. I believe as we open our Bibles today, there's a lot of prophecy being fulfilled before our very eyes. For example, in the nation of Israel. No other nation has been scattered all over the world and been regathered again but Israel. No other nation has lost their language and had their language restored but Israel. No other nation have had their nation deforested and become a desert, and now it's blooming and producing fruit for the whole world but Israel. And all this was predicted by the prophets of the Bible centuries and millennia ago. And this is why I believe the Bible is an accurate book, and I believe that our God is the real God. So the prophecies of Daniel encourage us that God knows the future, he is the one true God, and that he holds the future in his hands. And even in those dark times, he knows what is coming, and he's going to make a way through. And we're going to see that in the story of Hanukkah. Daniel's accurate prophecies also apply today. Daniel 11:14, introducing the prophecies, the angel comes to Daniel saying, "I have come to make you understand what will happen to your people in the latter days," or in the last days in the Hebrew. So the prophecies here about the abomination of desolation, about this figure who rises to power through deceit, who breaks this covenant, not only applied to the story of Antiochus back then, but also have to do with the future. And just as they happened back then, we know that they are going to happen one day in the future. Jesus and Paul, I believe, referred back to the events of Hanukkah as they foretold the final end-time events that are still yet to come. And just as Daniel was accurate back then, he will be of the future. So I hope you've been enjoying our series on Hanukkah and end-time prophecy. We're going to do more on this series. We've got another 5 episodes to go, so please make sure you subscribe to our channel and keep up to date as we release new versions and new updates on this. We're going to cover Hanukkah and the Great Tribulation, Hanukkah and sacrificial food in the New Testament, Hanukkah and end-time heroes, Hanukkah and the abomination of desolation, and Hanukkah and hope for the defiled and cleansing of the temple. So again, my name is Enoch Lavender from Olive Tree Ministries. You can visit our website, olivetreeministries.org.au, or just simply .tv. So I hope you enjoyed this. Leave your comments, share this with friends, and we look forward to seeing you in our next episode.